I have been knitting this Mitered square blanket for quite some time. I'm going to show you how to knit one for yourself. It's a great little stash buster. I'll give you the pattern for it as well. The back is quite neat and tidy. I'm also going to show you how to fasten the ends in as you're knitting, so there's no sewing involved with that. My blanket is knit in little scrap yarns that I've got left over. Some of them are sock yarns, some of them are just left over from projects, but it's all in 4-ply. You can do a Mitered square blanket in any yarn that you wish really, but I would suggest keeping to the same type of yarn just to keep the squares even. The process for knitting the squares is actually very simple. It's all done in a garter stitch, and what we're doing is we are reducing up the centre stitches, and that's what creates this V shape, which when you've got a variegated yarn, it can look really quite effective. I'm knitting this on 2.5mm needles, but use whichever needles are the right size for your tension and the yarn that you're using. What we're going to do is pick up stitches on two sides of this V and create a centre one. So you can do any number of stitches as long as it's an odd number overall. On the pattern that I'm using, I pick up 15 stitches and then I pick up 15 stitches again. Along here, I'm hoping you can see the stitches on the edge are quite pronounced and easy to pick out, and that's because we've been slipping the stitches and knitting into the back of the last one on each row, which I will show you as we go along. So I'm going to count, I need 15 stitches, so it's easy to see. There's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14 and 15 and the little knot at the end here. So I'll put my needle in, leave an end and knit to create a stitch. And then I'm going to go into the next loops here and go through the front and the back of that loop to create the stitch. And again through the two loops and knit into it. And this way we are picking up the stitches along this edge. I've picked up 15 stitches along this edge. The centre I'm going to leave for now and then just start on the second side here. So again through both loops of that stitch, and now I will cast on 15 stitches on this side also. So I've now picked up 30 stitches and I'm going to start my first knit row. The very first stitch we need to slide that first stitch across without working it, but do it as a purl, so the yarn is at the front of the needle that way. And now move the yarn to the back, and then we can commence knitting these first 15 stitches. And then when I get to the center, I need to pick up and make a stitch, because I need an odd number of stitches to create this pattern, this Mitered squared. So I've done the first 15, then I can see here the yarn that's gone in between the two. I'm just going to pick that up, pop it on my left hand needle and knit into the back of it. That's created that extra stitch. And now I can knit up the other side. When you get to the end of the row, the very last stitch, knit into the back of the stitch, so through the back leg there. So I've turned my work so the front is facing again. The first stitch will be slipped onto the right hand needle as if purling, move the yarn to the back, and then this thread here from the square underneath, I'm going to show you how to work that into the knitting so I don't have to sew it in later, saving me a lot of time. So I'll go to knit and I will just pop him over the cross of the needles there, and I'll hold on to it and knit that stitch. And then if I just knit the next stitch, that will catch it in place. And then the next stitch, I will wrap it over again and then miss one out And then what we're doing is this yarn is being caught in to the back of the work. This first row of knitting, I need to do the slip 1 and then knit 13 stitches to get to the centre where I'm going to do my first decrease. 12, 13. This is now over the point of the square underneath, and to create this reducing stitch where I'm going to reduce one of them, what I need to do is put my needle and slip those 2 stitches as if to knit them, and then pop them onto the right hand needle so they're on there, then knit the next stitch, and then I take my point on my left hand needle, pop it under those 2 stitches there, and carefully pop them over, and that way I've done a reducing stitches. My first knit stitch, I want to thread the thread in that's underneath. Here it is from the square underneath. So again, I'll just pop that over the cross of the needles, knit that in, this one, making sure it's caught in, thread it over the needles, and then when we get to the very last stitch, we'll knit into the back of it. I knit my way back. You can see those threads, yarns that are attached in there, so I can snip those off at the end. And the next row, I'll do the slip, the first one, yarn to the back. Now I need to do 1 stitch less, so this will be 12 stitches, and then do the centre reduction that I showed you before. So this is the second right side row. I've slipped the first stitch, knit 12, so it's 1 less than the first, and then I'm to the centre again, where I need to slip those first 2 stitches knitwise, knit the next stitch, and then slip those 2 stitches over, and then knit to the end again. And what we do every right side row is there's 1 less stitch either side, and we'll continue doing that, remembering of course to knit into the back of the last stitch of each row until we get to the top. So you can see I've knit quite a few rows now, and on the sides I've been making sure that I've been slipping the first stitch and knitting into the back of the last stitch to give this nice neat edge to help me for future squares that I'll be knitting. At the very end here, I will simply slip the 2 stitches, knit the last one, knit the last one, pass those 2 stitches over, and there we are at the very end. So I'll get my snips and just snip that off, tie a knot, and now no sewing in required because I've weaved these ends in, so I can snip those 2 off as well. And there we are, nice and neat on the back, nice and neat on the front, and another square to my scrappy blanket.